Hey everyone, welcome to the Entry Point Hunting Podcast. I'm your host, Justina Lee Stoltz, and today I'm very excited to be chatting with a man who hopefully has been living in your pocket for a very, very long time now. And if he hasn't been living in your pocket, or at least the app that he created, then I hope that after this podcast, you will be downloading that app. So my guest today is Mark, who is a man who traded the vast prairies of Alberta for the rugged beauty of Nova Scotia. He is an avid hunter and outdoorsman, and Mark's passion for the wild led him to create iHunter, the app. This app connects hunters with the resources that they need when they are out in the woods and before they get there. When he's not immersed in the digital world of hunting, you'll find him exploring the real one, whether it's big game hunting, canoeing, or building something in the woods. So welcome to Mark. How's it going?
Thanks, Justina. Good. How are you?
I am good. I'm very excited to chat all things iHunter today and to get to know the man behind the thing that has saved my butt in the woods on many occasions.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, thanks for having me.
You left Alberta how long ago and why to Nova Scotia? Like, I love the Atlantic provinces, but I'm curious what drew you there.
I think we first came to Nova Scotia was in 2016 after my son was born. So we had a mat leave, pat leave year, and just wanted to do something. And so we drove across country. We had a 2-year-old and a 6-month, or 2-year-old and a 1-month-old, and we did the drive in about 3 weeks, and then stayed out here for a year and drove back through the U.S. So it was quite an adventure then, and we really liked it out here. And so after COVID hit, we had been planning to move from Calgary somewhere. We were gonna go overseas, and then COVID hit, and visa processing all stopped, and all that kind of stuff. So we just chose somewhere else, and we really liked it out here. So we moved out in 2020, and yeah, I've been here since. It's a pretty great place to be.
That's a crazy journey to go on with 2 small children.
Totally. And when we moved back, we had 3. So our youngest was about 6 months, and we did that move in about 2 weeks' time. Like,
Oh
sold the
my
house,
gosh. Wow,
packed
you guys,
everything up.
yeah, you like a challenge.
Totally. I think we thrived when we were being challenged. Yeah, it was good.
Where were you, out of curiosity, where were you planning to move internationally before COVID?
We had been planning to move to Finland. So my wife has citizenship there, and we got all the kids' citizenship when they were born. So it was just me that needed visas and stuff like that. And COVID really threw a wrench into things.
Yeah. For a lot of things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nova Scotia is a pretty cool place to land, though, and much more affordable than the Western provinces.
It is. Parts of it are definitely creeping up. Like, housing here is, it's getting just as expensive as everywhere else, but there's still lots of land and lake opportunities out here as well. There's some oceanfront stuff, but yeah, if you're looking for woods and forest, there's lots of really good opportunities.
I was going to ask you about that. I've never really explored or looked into what hunting in the Atlantic provinces would look like.
So I'm primarily a big game hunter. I've done some small game and waterfowl and stuff like that, but primarily big game. And out here, there's not a lot. Like, they've got white-tailed deer and black bear. Are your two, like, there is some moose hunting in Cape Breton and in some of the other provinces, but almost all of that's on draw, and it's a little bit more difficult to actually get opportunities. But white-tailed deer hunting is really good out here. There's lots of opportunity as well. So, like, you can hunt, there's lots of crown lands that you can hunt, obviously. But Nova Scotia also has I don't remember what they call it actually, but like similar to the Scandinavian countries, where you can basically go on anybody's private land, like even their private woodlots and forests, as long as it's not like actively being maintained for like a Christmas tree lot, or it's not actually being like cut as farmland or something like that. So if it's just woods, you're allowed to go and roam, you're allowed to go mushroom picking, go hunting. If it's posted, or if they ask you to not
Stay off,
be in there, you do have to respect that. But otherwise, it's pretty lenient on
that's interesting.
public access.
Yeah. Wow. That's That's not how it is out here in BC for sure.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting that, yeah, private land that's not being actively used or requested to stay off of, you can actually go and wander on. So not so private, semi private, I guess.
Totally. Like, it's private in the sense that obviously they can use it for whatever purposes and they can ask people not to come on. But I think there's this general sense out here that people don't want to restrict other people's access to their woods. Like, they want
Mm.
it to be enjoyed. They want people to use it as long as it's not being abused, garbage isn't being left, all that kind of stuff. So I think, like, as long as people are using things responsibly, people are happy to keep them open. But it's as soon as they start having problems or
Mm.
people accessing it and doing things that are kind of causing any sort of problems, and that's when you're going to see lands get posted.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, obviously, generationally and over time, there's this underlying cultural current of respect in the Atlantic provinces that unfortunately has had to be mandated in the West, I guess. People just don't, there is a different culture there. My sister and I did a road trip to the Atlantic provinces way back for about 3 weeks. And I just remember feeling like I was in a different country. And there was such a difference in the way that everyone communicated and treated each other. And I mean, obviously, we were a flash in the wind just going by. But even in that short amount of time, I felt that there was a difference in the way that people communicated and treated each other. And obviously, now I'm learning that they treat the land and people's access to it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a friendly, friendly people out here, and
Yeah.
pretty welcoming, and yeah, it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. So I want to dive into the thing that you are most famous for, although I don't know if people necessarily ever research or know who created the thing that's in their pocket. You first released the iHunter app as an app to the world in 2012 and had, from what I could read and find, 3,000 purchases within the first 6 weeks of that launch date. So today, do you have any idea of how many people are actually using the app?
Yeah, we do have some pretty good statistics on that. I haven't looked in a little while, but I think we've got about 170,000 active
Wow.
users, which is man, that's got to be about 15% of hunters in Canada. So it's actually low in consideration of like total hunter numbers, but
Mm.
we're really heavy in Alberta, where I'd say we have almost 50% of hunters using it. BC probably a little less than that, but yeah, like it's grown a lot. Like, those first 6 weeks were just a test, right? Like,
Yeah.
I threw something together in 30 days, got it out on the app store, started talking to people, just seeing if the idea would fly. Would people actually spend a little bit of money on something like this? And
Hmm.
um, at the beginning, like, when it was just the base app and you're doing hunting regulations and waypoints and some pretty standard stuff, people liked it. It was good, super useful. With the land ownership maps and stuff like that, that's what really gets things
Hmm.
growing. And like private land boundaries, crown land boundaries, those are the features that are just really killer, that people yeah, just really started to appreciate more and more. And once you let people know that those things exist, people are pretty happy to spend like a cup of coffee worth of money
Yeah.
to get some really awesome hunting information.
And was that part of the catalyst for creating it? Like I'm a relatively new hunter within the last 5 years, picked up my actual hunting journey, and I found that to be a bitch of a time finding any information about private land, crown land, public park land, where the city boundaries are necessarily for this, that, and the other thing. And I read somewhere or listened in some other podcast that you were on that was part of the initial drive to create this was your own struggle to find that information in some coherent fashion to be able to go out there and hunt.
Yeah, definitely. I think every hunter struggles with that. Like, unless you have
I
family
hunter.
land that's just been, well, sure, but like, I mean, yeah, iHunter helps you find that stuff, but you need to find it if you don't have like family land that's passed down, or you don't
Mhm.
have like a great mentor that is showing you all of his spots or whatever. Like you got to start figuring this stuff out on your own. And if you don't figure it out on your own, you're always hunting somebody else's spot, right? You're being
Mhm.
brought somewhere, somebody's shown it to you. Now there's that etiquette of, can I go back there on my own? Can I actually
Mhm.
go and hunt my friend's spot? And the answer is usually no, unless you've got great friends that just want to give their spots away. But you do actually have to start putting in your own research and figuring out where you can hunt solo, or bring new people or whatnot. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, if you're finding new spots, iHunter's great. It does kind of amalgamate as much of that information as we possibly can find in one resource, so that you can just look at your map and you can see, am I allowed to be here? And you can
Mhm.
put in more research, obviously, and you should look into that land. You can call your conservation office and you can talk to them about it. And like, this looks like general use crown land. Is there anything that you guys know about this land that I should be aware of? You can
Mhm.
turn on like the range tenures layer in the app, so you can see, is this land being leased out to for agriculture? Like, is there cattle present on this land? Those are all
Mhm.
things that you can then turn on and investigate, and yeah, find more information on.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I wasn't a hunter and wasn't aware of the app back in 2012 when you launched it. But as a new hunter in the last 5 years, incredibly useful resource for just figuring out where you're going and what's happening. And like you said, you still have to do your own research. Like where I live here in BC, I live close to West Bank First Nations land, and occasionally I've been out in the woods and I'll see this is a West Bank food forest, and that's all it says on the sign. And I don't know, does that mean resident hunters can't hunt here? Can I go through this land or not? So I just called WFN and asked, what does this mean? And it means, they would prefer that people not hunt this area at all, so that the food forest can then grow and proliferate and be able to provide to WFN. So it's just doing your own research in combination with using this incredible tool.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there is lots of information out there that is not available in some sort of form that we can use,
Hmm.
or that it just isn't publicized or available online, or whatnot. And
Hmm.
if you don't have boots on the ground, like, it's really hard to put that level of detail into an app. So there's always going to be stuff that you need to pay attention to. There can be signage in the field that does actually, describe whether or not you can or can't hunt there, or it
Yeah.
could be vague and you do need to do a little bit more research. So we do
Yeah.
as best we can to amalgamate everything and bring everything into one place, but there's always going to be more that you have to do on your own.
Definitely. Yeah. And of the features and map layers and things that are in the app, what's your favorite one, or maybe the one that's most heavily used?
Uh, Private property boundaries and crown land boundaries are probably the most useful. Even just for my own use, not like non-hunting use, just for like going for scouting walks, or just getting to know a new area, like being new to Nova Scotia, and just not knowing anything, and so from the ground up starting to like build a I don't know, like a repertoire of like hunting locations and places that you either have explicit permission on or that you can go on.
Hmm.
Just seeing where properties start and stop, and seeing the access points, and seeing yeah, like, just getting the lay of the land. Like, if you didn't have that, it just looks like a giant satellite image of forestry. And if you don't have those private property boundaries and crown land boundaries, it's really hard to start. Like, it's
Yeah.
really hard to get even if you go and talk to a landowner and he says, yes, I've got 100 acres back there and you can go hunt it, you have no idea where his land starts and the neighbors or his stops and the neighbors starts. And so if you don't have that, like, it would have been really challenging without GPS devices,
Yeah.
like we did in the past. And easier in BC and Alberta, actually, because a lot of stuff is fenced. Like, it's fenced for agriculture, like
Yeah.
for raising cattle, or just for private property purposes. So you talk to a landowner and you get on this quarter section of land, it's very well defined, how wide it is.
Hmm.
It's totally different in other parts of the country where land was divided up a lot differently. There'd be
Yeah.
these thin, tiny strips where you get a little bit of waterfront, a little bit of area to build a house, and then you get this giant woodlot that stretches all the way back into the forest, but it might only be a couple 100 meters wide, and it's just
Yeah.
this long,
Interesting.
narrow tract of land. So, yeah, I use the property boundaries the most.
Yeah.
I'd say like the newest thing that people have been really happy that we added CarPlay and Android Auto support for iHunter
Hmm.
recently, which so you have to have the pro subscription for that
Yeah.
because it does actually cost us money every time somebody uses it, but
Yeah.
it's really nice to be able to see those property lines, crown land information, or land ownership maps right on your car's screen, like the built-in screen as you're driving. People have been using iPads, mounted to their dashboard or
Yeah.
iPhones or whatnot. But it is really nice to just have it always available in your built-in navigation system, so you can actually see those property names moving past you as you're driving on the highway or down a range road or whatnot.
Yeah, that's neat. That's the integration of technology making it accessible. I was going to say I can imagine that people were mounting iPads onto their dashboards, and hunters will be creative to get whatever they need to make it accessible while in the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of curiosity, why is Ontario so much more expensive to use iHunter than every other province?
That's a great question, and it's the data. So a lot of the
Mm.
data is freely available from provinces, or they
Mhm.
have like smaller, more reasonable fees.
Yeah.
Ontario, their private property boundary database is managed by a third-party company, so like a private company that has a contract with the province, and then they're responsible for licensing that out. And so there's just costs associated with the data. And so because it's a subscription model for that private land data, we just have to pass that cost on. We pay an
Mm.
annual fee per user for the data, and so we have to pass that cost on.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I was curious
Yeah.
when I was looking through all of the pricing schedules, and I went, "Huh, there's something special about Ontario."
Totally. It's really, really awesome when provinces jump on the open data bandwagon. Like BC is great, right? Like they
Hmm.
provide all of the private property boundary data free of charge and free to use. You just have to shape it into something that is useful for users. So
Mm.
we process that and we sort that data so that it's a little bit easier to understand and a litle bit easier to visualize. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's really nice when provinces make it easy for us to share that data.
Yeah. And what's your relationship with the provinces? Are they aware? Do they just send you guys updated maps and data layers and say, "Hey, by the way, we've updated all the private property this year. Here's an updated file," or are you guys still having to manually and individually go and hunt for all of the data that we get to use in the iHunter app?
Yeah, we've got it's kind of a combination of that, depending on the data source. So the main thing is that we look at hundreds of different data sources, and so we've got some internal processes to kind of keep everything up to date, whether that's periodic just checking to see if those things are updated, or if we have agreements with different organizations to provide us updates
Mm.
when things change. But it's a I guess that's part of the value that iHunter adds, is that we do that legwork. So we're trying to
Absolutely. Yeah.
keep everything up to date. Different provinces we've got different relationships with, and I'd say that the biggest advantage to having a relationship with these organizations is that you can actually affect change. So there's a lot of
Mm.
data sets that provinces create, but it takes them a little while to be able to expose those publicly. So in BC, for example, there's different road closures and things like that for a variety of different reasons. There was wildfire related closures.
Hmm.
There are First Nations related no hunting zones. There's a lot of different information that we would like to have, and sometimes that gets created, but there's like a delay in when they actually expose that publicly. And so
Mm-hmm.
we spend a lot of time advocating for that. Like, so if we do notice that there is some request for data from users, like, hey, there's all these road closures, it's not mapped in the app, we try to influence the government, I suppose, just to highlight how many people are looking for that, why it's important, and just kind of advocate for the value that it provides to end users. And ultimately, like, nobody wants people to make mistakes in the field, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants people to be on the wrong side of things. So the individuals in government are always wanting to help, and it's just a matter of, like, can we make a case for that data to be released publicly? And uh, uh, yeah, and hopefully we can get people to release stuff, and it's added to iHunter as it becomes available.
Yeah. Yeah, that's neat to know that in the background, not only are you guys creating this app, but there's also some advocacy work happening there for information that is relevant to the hunting public. So that's cool
Oh,
that you guys are
definitely.
doing that.
And organizations like BHA, they help a lot with that as well. They bring things to our attention, and then they kind of spearhead things with us. So, like, we'll join up and both contact either the same department or different departments to try to advocate for release of data, and that usually works really well. Conservation organizations in general are really great to work with. In every
Mm-hmm.
province, we try to partner with the leading organizations like Alberta Conservation Association. Yeah, anyway, so every province has their own organizations, and we try to do individual partnerships with everybody so that we can get yeah, most of those organizations have lands that they own or
Mm-hmm.
manage, and so we try to get those integrated, and we're trying to help them as well get the word out about things that are important to them, because
Yeah.
they have the boots on the ground in that region, and we're
Yeah,
just trying to
definitely.
partner with them.
What was the background that gave you the ability to do this? Like, were you a computer coder before you actually created iHunter, or tell me a bit about how the actual creation of this happened?
Oh yeah, yes, I have a computing science degree, and so I was doing software development for about 10 or 15 years before I created iHunter. So it really was like a merging of two of my biggest interests, I suppose.
Mm,
I had a need for exploring a new area of hunting and trying to figure out where I could hunt, um, and that's like kind of that graduation from having a mentor who shows you everything.
mhm.
And once you start wanting to hunt on your own and finding your own locations, it just really raised this issue that I don't know a lot about. How am I going to find these spots? And so, just in my own process of trying to figure out where and what I could hunt, I found data, used my own skill set to try to see, hey, can I see that on my phone? And then once I could do that for myself, I realized, like, hey, this is actually really important, and nobody else is doing this. Like you said, this was in 2011, 2012, and really there wasn't anybody else doing it.
Yeah.
The There's another company in BC, Hunt Buddy BC, and they basically started at the same time. While I was doing Alberta, they were doing BC, and then I expanded to all the other provinces shortly afterwards to make it
Mm.
more of a business that had some longevity and not just like one province specific
Mhm.
item.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that makes more sense. I was like, what did this guy do? That how did he have the skill set to actually make this happen? Which, for the rest of us, thank you. That's a lucky fortuitous thing that just happens that a software engineer type person has the same problem that the rest of us are facing and actually did something about it. So, the rest of us are lucky that you had that passion and desire to do it.
No, you're welcome. But since I've started it, it's the addition of really good team members that have been able to keep things going. So we've got a small team, but it's yeah, just really nice to work with people that you like and enjoy, and they're all my friends and people that I've known from past connections and whatnot, and we just work really well together. So they've kind of taken over the day to day of continuing to build the app, and I'm working more on the business side of things nowadays. But
Yeah, when I was
Yeah.
reading, it looked like there's 5 people on the team now.
Plus a couple more that are maybe
Okay.
like less, not less permanent, but contractors and things like that. So yeah, we've got 6 or 7 people that are working on it all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. And you had mentioned that at the time that you started it in 2012, that there wasn't really competition or anybody doing this in the market yet. Now, is there competition in the marketplace? Like I know there are other apps, but I don't know about if they reach into Canada. Like, I mean, I know there's other US apps, US based ones, but I don't know that they reach into Canada. And I saw that somewhere in the mix, you guys tried to branch into the US. But I'm curious what happened there.
Yeah, so there are some huge players in the US. Yeah, there's Onyx, there's Hunt Stand, there's a bunch of others, and they've all expanded into Canada or tried to in the past couple of years, and
Mhm.
they have great products. Like they've got huge engineering teams, they've got 200 plus employees, some of them, which is, yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling that
Yeah.
we're competing with them and staying relevant and on top of things in Canada, which is it's awesome to see because there's seems to be a lot of loyalty, but from
Mhm.
customers, a lot of people are willing to try a competitor and they'll check it out, but they all seem to come back to iHunter if they do try. There are features that we have that they don't have. There's features that they have that we don't have. So it's tough because like you want to stay competitive, but we really want to focus on our core competencies and the things that we do really well and that differentiate us. So we just keep doing us. We just keep trying
Yeah.
to get out a good product that is relevant to people. And I'd say that the biggest differentiator is like hunting regulations.
Yeah.
A lot of the other companies, they do boundaries similar to us for the most part, but almost nobody has like curated hunting regulations, which makes a big difference. So
It's huge. That's a feature of the app that I use all the time.
yeah, I agree. It is really huge, and but I think that some people just assume because that's publicly available, there is a regulations document. Like maybe that's not needed, but it is
Mhm.
needed because it inverts everything. It depending on the province, right? A lot of provinces will list things out like for this animal, this is the list of zones and the season dates for this species. But then if you want to know everything about that one particular zone, you've got to go now to every species and look that up. And you got to see,
Yeah.
okay, well, what else can I hunt here? What else can I hunt here? And you got to go through all that list. Whereas we invert that and say, you know where you want to hunt.
Mhm.
Like you found like an area you want to hunt, and now you can narrow it down and you can see every animal that you can hunt in that zone and what are its season dates specific to that zone. And that really does help a lot. Like, it's
Oh, it's
nice to be
amazing.
able to quickly look at something and say, "This is closed. This is closed. This is closed. This is about to open.
Yeah.
This is open for the next 3 months," and you can see that all at a glance.
Next to private crown land property boundaries and knowing that I'm on the right chunk of land and not I haven't wandered over in my 10K walk to somewhere I'm not supposed to be, knowing and ensuring every time that I go out, double check, okay, just make sure everything's still open the way that I thought it was as far as what I'm able to hunt here. It's an invaluable resource to have in that app. So yeah, definitely a differentiator for sure.
But you were asking about us in the US as well, and
Yeah,
that's a slightly different story. Like once you have the app and like you can get data from different sources, it is nice to be able to kind of spin up a new state or a new province, and we're always trying to add locations. So like in Canada, we're trying to get full coverage. But there's some provinces that it doesn't really make that much sense, like PEI, for example.
yeah,
It's so small, no big game hunting, just waterfowl. So we don't have a PEI app. Um, but in the US, like a lot of the data is available. So, I thought, why not? Like, why not try to make that leap down there? But the flip side of that is it's super expensive to try to market against big incumbent companies. And
yeah,
so ultimately I decided let's just focus on Canada. Canada is a great market. It's under supported. Most of these
Mm-hmm.
big companies don't put in the level of effort that you need to really do something province specific. And so we really just wanted to focus and do a great job on Canada. And maybe in the future we would want to go down again, or do some other sort of expansion. But there's also just so much we can do in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There's other verticals that we can tackle. There's other features that we can add that are very specific to locations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and so we just keep focusing on Canada. It's everything's built in Canada, and we want to support Canadians.
Cool. Very cool. And I don't know this because I've never tried to hunt in any other province, but if I have the iHunter app on my phone, which I do, and I use it in BC, can I use it in any other province that I go to, or is it province specific when you get it and you have to go and get it in each province?
Good question. On Android, you have to separate apps for each province.
Okay.
That's just how things are structured there. On iOS, you get one, you download the iHunter app, and then you can add on provinces as you want. The base app is free for every province, so you can see your hunting boundaries, you can do waypointing, tracking, drawing, maps, all that kind of stuff. All the basic features are free. And then you can either have a $5 annual subscription or a $15 annual subscription. The $5 gives you all the regulations and caching and a few other things. The $15 gives you all your pro features like the private property boundaries, crown land boundaries, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and these are per year expenses.
Yes, per year. So
Yeah.
it's actually like trivially inexpensive
Yeah.
compared to most of our hunting gear and supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we try to keep things as inexpensive as possible, and that's another differentiator from some of our competitors.
I was going to say
Uh,
the base app wasn't always free. So when did it go free, and how is that even possible? Because you guys are obviously putting in a boatload of research and time and money in the back end to make it available.
Totally. Yeah, we used to have a one-time fee of like $5 to get the app for the first time, and then you could upgrade to the pro model, subscription. We changed that about a year ago, or like made plans to change it about a year ago, and I think it was this spring that we actually launched that. And so there's a lot of data out there that the government does provide us. It is free to us, although we have all the engineering effort in there, and we're trying, like, there's cost for us to do that. At the same time, we want to pass on as much free stuff as we can, like the basic stuff to keep people informed and legal. And the easiest way to do that is just to make it free so everybody can access that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of that, providing a service. Like, we want, the main goal for this is to keep people on the right side of the law, right? So as
Yeah.
much as what we can make free, we want to do. The flip side of that is having a $5 option per year. It's super inexpensive, but does actually give us some recurring revenue. So rather than a one-time $5 fee, uh, having that recurring option. But then it also shows people that, okay, I could pay $5, I can get the regulations and these extra features. But if I spend $15, I get everything. Like
And that's per
everything.
year. Like it's
Yeah,
mind blowing to me. Some people will pay $50 a month for a gym membership, let alone $15 for the whole year to have this incredible resource available in your pocket. So that's incredibly affordable, which I think again is a differentiator between you and some of the other apps that are available.
yeah, and I'd say that the better comparison would be something like Netflix, right? Like, where
Yeah.
where they're switching to like 20 some dollars a month,
Yeah.
and it's just helping you entertain yourself, not helping you actually achieve something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Since the app's been around for quite a while now, are there any unexpected uses that people use it for that you didn't initially intend it to be used for?
Yeah, totally. Like, it gets used by lots of different industries. I'd say that the biggest ones would be like real estate,
Oh,
agriculture, law enforcement, sometimes emergency services, which I don't really like to promote that much, just in terms of, yeah, it's not our intended market, I suppose. So it's like we
yeah.
don't have specific features for them or like any sort of assurances, I suppose. Like, yeah. Anyways, there are lots of different uses, and it just keeps broadening, I suppose, as people find out. Like land ownership information in particular is so essential for so many different companies and industries, and for salespeople, all sorts of stuff that people, if they're going, especially in rural areas, if they're going to an area and they want to be informed when they go talk to somebody, you need to know who lives there, and you need to know
Yeah.
who their neighbors are, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it gets used pretty broadly, and it's
I never
interesting
thought about it.
because
I was gonna say I never thought about it for real estate. I work in real estate,
okay.
and anytime that I go out and I'm in more rural areas, I'm always pulling up the local government website and trying to zoom in and find, okay, where exactly is this property boundary? I never even thought to just pull up my iHunter app and it'll just be right there.
Oh yeah, like you can let's see. In BC you could enter the property identifier, like the PIN or the
Yeah,
PID, I can't remember what it's called
the
in
ID. Yeah,
BC. And you can enter that right in the search bar up top, and it'll actually bring you right to that property and show you its boundaries. And
that's brilliant.
yeah, it's really useful for real estate. I don't, again, and the fact that all those boundaries can be cached for offline use is actually more important, because if you go out to that location, there's not good cell service, but you've looked at it ahead of time, your property boundary will still be on there, and you can see your location. So it's, yeah, it's pretty useful for other industries outside of
Yeah,
hunting.
yeah,
And
that's
that's
amazing.
one of the things that we have to kind of evaluate. Like, there's lots of opportunity to build like other apps on the same framework or same technology, because it's kind of hilarious that a lot of non-hunters are using a hunting app because it serves a very specific need for things like property boundary and land
Yeah.
identification.
Yeah, one of the neat ones that I stumbled across in my research about the app and its uses was our mutual friend Dylan from Eat Wild. He uses it to go morel hunting, to go hunt for mushrooms and be able to see where was the most recent, put the fire map layer on or fire layer on the map and be able to see, okay, this was a fire last year. I can head up there and fill buckets and buckets of morels.
Yeah, it's funny, that one didn't even pop to mind, because I find that to be such a similar use to hunting. Like,
Hmm.
foraging for food in general is just like part of that scouting process for me. Like, you're out
Yeah.
in the woods anyways, you're looking for those kind of signs. But the fire fire layers boundary is, or the fire boundary layer is fantastic, because it'll give you the map of forest fires for the past 5 years, and if you
Yeah.
tap on them, you can actually see when did that fire happen. You can see things like its cause and stuff like that, which is maybe less relevant, but
Still
yeah,
important.
if you know, yeah, it's still important, but yeah, if you know when that fire happened, you can predict when those morels are going to pop up. You can figure out when regrowth is going to happen in those forests, so you can see when the ungulates are going to start coming back in full force, things like
Yeah.
that. So there's lots of information that people can glean out of different layers like that.
Yeah, the unintended spin-offs of what this information can be used for. I even thought about I thought, yeah, even for shed hunting, if you know the elevation at which your deer are going to be at in the wintertime, you can just find those and figure out how to get there and go shed hunting for them as well. So really neat to be able to use it off season for things that are still relevant to harvesting food or antlers and that kind of stuff. So cool alternative uses other than just in season hunting.
Yeah.
Because iHunter has been around for quite a while now, are there any neat, cool partnerships that you guys have established that people should know about that maybe they wouldn't know? If they're the average outdoors person or hunter who just downloaded the app, they're using it, but they don't necessarily know that you guys have all these cool other connections through industry that are available to users and consumers of iHunter. Is there anything that people should know about that would be of to their benefit?
Yeah, there are. We haven't been doing this as much lately, but we had been partnering with different companies that wanted to provide discounts and things to people, to our users. We were doing that a lot more in the past and just, kind of taken our foot off the gas there of forming those partnerships. But there's still a few that are active. I think Silver Core, which is it's like a firearms training and virtual gun club. So it's a way to get
Yeah.
your RPAL. You might know more about this. I'm not sure if you know Travis from Silvercore, but he'd be great to have on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Good idea.
so I think he's got some discounts and deals for iHunter users. There's a food processing company in Calgary and Edmonton that does 15% discount for iHunter users. That's called CTR Refrigeration. Jimbo's Archery in Calgary, I think they give some discounts for iHunter users. Yeah, there's a
And you
few.
guys,
I wish I should go through because we have partnerships with a bunch of different people, but I forget the details of them all, and I I don't have them in front of me.
a couple that I saw on the website were Wild TV and the Game Down app. Those two looked really neat, but I was wondering if you could tell me more about them.
Well, you probably know Wild TV, and we did do a bit of a cross promotional effort last year with them. Yeah, it
I
worked
don't
out.
actually know Wild TV at all. I had never heard of them until I was scrolling through the iHunter website.
Oh, really? It's like, the equivalent of like the Sportsman channel or whatever in Canada. So it's where most of the hunting TV shows in Canada are shown.
Hmm,
So they've got an online presence. They have, you can get it on your TV channels. I can't remember what channels they are out west. But yeah, it's a pretty popular launch point for most Canadian hunting shows. So
cool.
Wild TV's pretty great. And then Game Down is actually an app that I built with a hunter from Alberta who just wanted to get more content available for people for how to process animals, how to do all of the aftercare, the deboning, and he created some great tutorial videos for stuff like that. So I believe that's a free app now. He actually passed it back to our company, and so we host that now.
Oh, cool.
But haven't done a lot of work on that in quite some years. But it is a free offline video system, so you can see how to debone an entire big game animal or whatnot. So if you're in the field and you had that app and you didn't have internet connection, you could still pull up those videos and watch those processes.
That's awesome. Because
Yeah.
I used to carry around a little folded up piece of paper that I had printed out from the internet in case when that opportunity happens, I get amnesia and I totally forget because I'm so excited about what I'm supposed to do next. So it's amazing to have an app in pocket with video tutorial that is available offline. So in those moments, if you freeze and you're like, oh, I can't remember what the next step is here, you can actually watch and see what's going on.
Totally. Have you, Justina, have you processed a big game animal on your own? Like while you've been
No,
out, got it on your own, processed it on your own?
no, not
Because
yet,
I'd
not to
say
date.
those experiences are what really cement the process for you. It's
Yeah,
not doing it with like it's great having a mentor, somebody to coach you through things once or twice,
yeah,
but it's not until you do it all on your own without somebody there kind of talking you through each step that you really learn it. And once you do it once or twice, like on your own, you don't forget it, and you won't need
yeah,
those resources anymore. But man, it's essential when that first time you've got a big animal down and you're
yeah.
like, oh shit, now it's
Yeah.
on me.
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping, Mark. I am so hoping that this year is the year that happens because it's I'm really glad for the time amnesia that happens between the end of season and the start of the next season because by the end of the last 3-4 seasons, I'm like pretty sad
Mm.
about not having harvested anything. And then by the start of the next season, I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's gonna happen this year. Like the amnesia just it takes hold over those few months, and I get that same excitement and vigor back at the start of every season.
Well, that's good. And hopefully during that off season, you've figured out some ways to increase your luck the next year, whether that's
Yeah.
scouting or finding a new spot or sighting in your rifle or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, for me it's more practice with my rifle. I've been I don't know, I hate to say it, lucky. There's some element of luck and there's some element of just boot leather in there of having seen lots of shootable animals, but as a newer hunter, there's been several scenarios and several seasons where I could have had meat in the freezer, but you just don't know what you don't know, or don't have the confidence to pull the trigger in non textbooky perfect scenarios. So I'm hoping, I've had enough seasons of missing opportunities now that with a little bit more time behind my rifle and practicing just being out in the woods. So a girlfriend of mine and I will actually go out into the woods, we'll run in the woods and then try and get into some position, whether it's up against a tree or prone or kneeling or behind a log or whatever, mimicking what it would actually be like, that heart racing, palpitating
Mm.
feel. And then trying to steady your rifle and be in some awkward position to actually shoot a target. So that has
Yes.
been the progression for me, is just getting more confident behind being able to actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be in a situation where you, for one of your first shots, you make a bad shot,
Yeah.
or yeah, or God forbid you injure an animal and can't find it. It's the
Yeah.
absolute worst feeling you're ever gonna have, and avoid that for your first for your first animals.
Trying.
But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
happens to
Trying my hardest
everybody
not
at
to do
some
that.
point. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I've heard every hunter that I've talked to has said that there's been an animal that got away that they couldn't recover, and I'm trying my darndest to lengthen the amount of time in my life before that inevitably will happen. I'll just keep practicing until it actually connects. You are also very much a family man. You now have 3 children, all under the age of.
All under the age of 10. Well, I've got 10, 8, and 4 right
Oh
now.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
busy.
And what's your favorite thing to do with them, I guess?
Yeah, they're all big into the outdoors. We've got a off-grid camp, a cabin out here at a small lake. So it's
Cool.
everything's I'm kind of developing that just to make them happy in the outdoors. So we clearing different camping spots, building a floating dock out on the lake so that they have something to
Fun.
jump off of and swim, canoes
Yeah.
and kayaks all the time. So all that kind of stuff just to get them comfortable in the outdoors and liking camping and stuff like that. And they all seem really pumped about it. My son Edward he's really pumped about hunting in general, and he's
Cool.
come out with me and my dad a few times and myself a couple times,
Oh,
and
neat.
he's
Three
always
generations.
interested. Yeah, totally. So if you look on Instagram last hunting season, I went back to Alberta with him and hunted with my dad, and I got a really nice Alberta buck, and he was just like grinning from ear to ear. He was super happy to be helping us take it out and load it
Yeah.
up, and yeah, it was a really good time and great, great chance to spend time with him out hunting.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so neat when you can have multi generations in the experience. I have a really good buddy who's out in the Kootenays, and his dad and his brother all have a deer camp or a hunting camp every year, and I've been very fortunate to be able to go and be part of their family hunting camp. And so it's neat to sit around the fire and listen to the generational stories of how hunting has been a key part of their lives.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I grew up with like my dad and his hunting buddies, and then going hunting with them and their kids, and so myself and their children are still friends to this day, and still hunt together when we can, when we're all back in Alberta, and it's interesting. Back then, I remember them saying like at hunting camp, well, we need to keep you guys around. Like we're gonna start getting older. We need somebody to set up camp. We need somebody to help with the heavy work. And that lasted until we were in our 20s, and we were out there helping and doing stuff. But then everybody moves away, and you start your own camps, and you have your own children, and you're trying to do the exact same with them and trying to get
Yeah.
them involved. And um, yeah, it's nice to reminisce about those experiences and seeing it come full circle and starting to see it happen with the next generation, hopefully.
Yeah, it's very cool to be able to pass it on and to have kids that are interested in it. Because not
Mhm.
everyone is. I mean, um, I have a buddy who has two young kids that are definitely within that age range where you'd want to be starting to get them out there and getting that interest peaked. And they're just like, no, we're happy to read our books and be inside. We don't want anything to do with the great outdoors. So it's nice when you can find a way to engage them in the outdoors. And like you said, some of it is just making it fun, like not necessarily hunting or harvesting related, but playing on the dock and going canoeing and being in the great outdoors is the foundation for creating that love and passion for being outside in general.
Yeah, I agree. Just try to get them. If they like the same things that you're doing, it makes it easy.
Yeah.
If they like their own things that you need to start learning about, that's cool too. But man, it's great when they enjoy the same types of stuff that you like, and
Yeah.
yeah, it makes it really nice.
Yeah. That's amazing. With the iHunter app, what is the biggest hurdle that you guys are facing right now, or the challenge that you're overcoming at this time?
Hmm, that is a good question. I'd say it's choosing what to work on is
Mm,
always the challenge, because there are so many ways that we could spend our time, and with a small team, it's really easy to spend your time on something that doesn't really move the needle on either sales or user, like visible features that users are going to see. So it's a balance on how do we keep improving the back end and the stability, and like making things solid enough that we can continue our growth. So as you start adding users, and you go from 3,000 users to a couple 100,000 users, there's a big difference in what your back end, like the back end systems, need to look like. And you need to be able to handle that growth, because your server goes down middle of hunting season, and you don't have some way to get that back up and running really quick. It can be a problem.
yeah,
And
I'm like that
that's
makes
happened.
my
Yeah,
cortisol level go up just thinking about it.
totally. And that has happened before when it was just myself and my brother running things. I remember, like, back in, man, it would have been like 2014, 2015. And I remember just climbing into my tree stand, and it was like the first time I'd gotten out in like a week and a half or something, because like hunting season was just busy, and we didn't have a staff then. It was just two of us. And I remember climbing in and getting up to the top, and my phone just going off nuts. And my
Oh
brother was like,
no.
the server is down. It's November 2nd.
Oh.
Uh, I'm like, this is the worst time. And so I basically got into the stand and climbed down immediately, drove back to town, and we had to start dealing with stuff. So,
Oh
um,
wow.
yeah,
Holy.
so
Yeah.
I'd say managing that growth and deciding the balance between adding new features versus making sure things aren't going to go down. Yeah, and just
Yeah.
choosing where to spend your energy.
There's so many avenues, even offshoots of it that are possible ways to increase, expand the revenue and expand the reach and the user database and all of that kind of stuff. But there's the core things that are the most important to tackle first. Um,
Yeah.
are
And as a
you
business, we also want to decide how our business wants, how we want to work, right? Like a small team of 6 or 7 people is awesome. You can manage, you can make decisions super quickly. But sometimes you can't execute as fast. You can't actually deliver those great ideas quickly. So
yeah.
it's a balance there. And we're just trying to keep the entire team's ideas of how they want to work in mind, and keep growing responsibly, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. And obviously the partial goal is to expand user base, because you had said that it's a relatively small amount of the total hunting population that's currently using the app. But I imagine that you guys see probably pretty healthy growth every year especially with the amount of new features that you're adding every year.
Yeah, like growth is remarkably consistent. Like it's really awesome to see the growth over the years. And like, when you have like 12, 13 years of data to look back on and you can see those trends,
Yeah.
it's really cool, because it's great to see like there's the micro level, like you can see I know that exactly this week of September I'm going to have a spike of sales, and then it's going to drop off for a week or whatever, and then it's going to peak again. And you can see that Saturdays are the biggest days for sales. Like every Saturday you get this bump of sales, and yeah, you can see, and it's remarkably repeatable from year
I'm
to
surprised
year.
it's not Friday night at like 9 p.m. Sales just go up because everyone's like, oh, tomorrow. We needed this for tomorrow.
Actually, like that, maybe it is. I gotta look back and see if it's actually Fridays or Saturdays. But yeah, when you look at the charts, it's very evident that there's a pattern, and
Yeah.
it's pretty neat to see.
Yeah, I'm a data nerd too, so I like going very granular and seeing, day by day, minute by minute, where is the traction happening. So that's
Yeah.
really neat. If you had an ask of the existing iHunter community, because like you said, there is a lot of loyalty there. I think people really like to support a Canadian homegrown company that's doing the grassroots, providing value and service to people. So if you had an ask of the current iHunter community or potential future users, what would you want people to do or know?
I would say that the biggest thing would be if you notice something that is inaccurate or wrong, or that you have more information on, because I think that's really key. There's a lot of experts out there in these very niche fields or organizations, and if you know that your organization has a piece of land that allows hunting and we don't list it, that would be cool to know, and maybe we can get in touch with that organization, see if they want to be included in iHunter, or vice versa. You're part of a company that has mineral leases, but you don't let anybody on those at all. If you have the boundaries for those restrictions, that would also be great to have. So there's
Yeah.
that. Like if you have expertise that you can share with us, we are definitely open to hear about that. And if you notice a bug in the app, like something that isn't working well, and you report it, like those are great to receive as well, because then we can get those fixed. If it's affecting you, it's affecting other people. We might
Mm-hmm.
not have seen it because there's unlimited amount of circumstances out there that can affect how an app operates, or how bugs appear, and sometimes it's really hard to find. So if you notice something, we might not have noticed it, so just let us know. You can always get a hold of us, just info@ihunterapp.com, or inside of the app there's like a contact us option
Mm-hmm.
as well, and that gets right to one of our engineers. And we don't differentiate between like support and engineering. Like we've got one of our most senior guys doing support, because he actually knows what's relevant, and you can parse that out and figure out what we need to work on and what we need to prioritize.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but there was something in my usage of the app at one point. Oh, I think my property boundary lines for private and crown had disappeared, and I sent in the desperate, "Oh my gosh, I can't see this anymore. What's happened?" And almost instantaneously I got a response back that was like, "Oh, there's been a recent update. You just need to go and update your app service." And I went and did that, fixed the problem, and I was like, "Oh, that's amazingly quick and responsive." And it makes sense that you would have the person who's engineering and creating the software be able to answer some of the more detailed, obviously mine wasn't a detailed question, but people who send in more detailed questions about why this or that or this wasn't working, to be able to know, yeah, I have the knowledge and the wherewithal because I created that to be able to answer this question.
Totally. Yeah, and up till a couple of years ago, that was me doing support, and yeah, it's nice to have other team members do that stuff, and they've
Yeah.
become the experts on things now, and I love that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Sharing the load. Yeah. Yeah. As an entrepreneur, you get to do all of the hats for many, many years. And then when you get to this stage where you actually get to have a team, that's an incredible cohesion when you have the right people doing the roles.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think because of the evolution of apps like iHunter and the digital world that people will stop using maps, like hard copy maps and compasses when they're out in the woods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but there's especially new hunters and people that haven't grown up using those other more manual tools. I think people will give it, like, I don't think a lot of those people are gonna pick up a paper map.
Yeah.
Especially as things become a little bit more ubiquitous. Like there's yeah, once phones don't actually have reception issues, like, phones are going to have satellite receivers on them. Phones are going to be able to send a message out anytime. Like, that's not far off. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, people, they're just, it's so good. Like, they just work so well that I think people are going to continue using them and continue to put other things. They're not going to take out their handheld GPSs anymore, like their dedicated units, I don't think.
Yeah.
We might be a little ways off there, but yeah,
I feel like my only hesitation around it is battery life. Like when it's cold out and you're hunting,
yeah.
you're using a software that uses a lot more battery. That's my only hesitation around not having like a compass or a map with me, a physical one, because my phone doesn't always survive out in the woods for the time period that I need it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they should do that. I'm just saying that that seems to be the direction that people are going, and technology is enabling that.
Yeah,
Technology is getting good enough that a lot of the problems will be solved, and things like battery life. There's a huge difference between going out for the day and, sitting in your whitetail stand and hunting versus going out for a 7-day trip and needing to manage battery life. That is
yeah,
a totally different problem, and I think there's different solutions in both those cases. And I'd say that that person going out on a 7-day trip, they have their backup. Like, they do
yeah.
have their
Battery
waterproof
packs or
map that
yeah.
is put away and
Oh, map. Yeah,
gets pulled out if they need to, or they've got their battery pack or their solar charger or whatnot. But yeah, people are moving that way, and there's a lot of young people in particular that they don't pick up paper regulations anymore. They don't like that was part of the core experience for me going out hunting as a kid. Is dad would always have, the latest version of the regulations in the
yeah,
center console. So when we're doing our 5-hour drive out up to hunting camp, you could read them cover to cover and have them, always for reference. And
yeah.
now, that is digital, and people will pull up the specific thing that they need, but often they're not reading that entire thing cover to cover anymore.
No, no, barely. Like you usually just flip to the page that you need and that's it.
Yeah, but you don't catch all the stuff. Like, it's that's one of the parts of that I miss about taking a step back from the day to day is when I used to process all the regulations for every province. You'd read every single regulation booklet that year, and you'd know, well, in Ontario they're changing this, and in BC they're restricting this, but it's not being restricted here. And you just have this knowledge that
Yeah.
is more than what you had when you're just hunting one place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. In doing what you're doing, you become so familiar with across the nation what's available, possible, legal, not legal changes that are happening. I'm sure there's some cool data chart or mind map, data map that could be made from just seeing all of those changes happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to organize, though. It's hard to keep track of all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, hard to keep it all in your brain. So just offload it to other people and to charts and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Mark, what would be your 2 minutes or less recommendation to new hunters, the one thing that you wish that you knew when you started?
I'd say that the biggest thing is to find a mentor or somebody that can get you started to a certain extent. Somebody that just lessens the barrier to entry for you. So that could be somebody from a fish and game club. It could be a parent. It could be a grandparent, a friend, whatever. But somebody that can just get you out there, get you started.
Yeah.
So that would be like the first one, and then the second one would be stop hunting with them at some point. Like stop hunting with somebody else at some point.
Yeah.
You need to go out on your own at some point. And it doesn't need to be the first year that you go out. It doesn't need to be before you've harvested your first animal or whatnot, but you learn 10 times as much by making your own mistakes. And then those mistakes get cemented in your brain and you
Yeah.
don't make those again, and they will haunt you into compliance and into success. You make
Yeah.
a certain mistake, and hopefully you're not going to make that one again. And it sucks having to make mistakes, but like at least myself, I learn a lot better by making mistakes and making or learning something on my own. Doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I don't respect and appreciate all the stuff that I was taught with my mentors. It just means that I actually became a hunter more successfully once I started hunting on my own, because it became a priority for me. It became something that if nobody else was available, that's okay. I love hunting on my own, and that
Yeah.
became my go-to. And then, um, yeah, that's at least for me. Some people are just like, it's more the social aspect that they like. They like going with somebody, departing with somebody, the safety and security of that. But
Mm, yeah.
you can find a lot of opportunities on your own. You can make things happen without having to worry about somebody else's schedule. And like I said, you learn a lot when you do things on your own.
Yeah, yeah, you have to do the work yourself at that point.
Yeah.
I've had a really good mix of both in my short time in the field so far, and I do, for all the things that you mentioned, the safety, the security, the camaraderie, the social aspect, I do love hunting with other people or being at a group hunting camp. But there is something very very grounding and very real about stepping into the woods by yourself and being completely and utterly alone out there.
Hmm.
And that really it heightens your sense of awareness of everything. I find when I'm hunting in a group or with one other person, I I don't I pay attention as much as I can, but I know that I'm not paying as close of attention. I'm not listening as hard because I think, oh, well, they'll hear something as well. Versus when I'm by myself in the woods, it's like I'm listening for a pin drop out there or for something breathing. And your level of attention to the details goes way, way up when you are forced to because you're by yourself.
And the other thing is if you have somebody more senior or experienced with you, you defer a lot of decision making to that person. And
Yes.
they end up they might ask your opinion, but you might not feel confident enough to run with your opinion or to like really express it. But when you're on your own, you get to make that decision. You get to see why it did work out or it didn't work out.
Yeah.
If you're tracking a deer, you get to make that decision when you leave the tree stand to go how long you're going to wait or whatnot. And so
Yeah.
yeah, you'll learn a lot more. You'll learn from your mistakes and your successes. So get a good mentor and then hunt on your own at some point would be
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Very good
recommendation.
advice. Mark, closing tradition on this podcast is we do a short series of rapid fire questions that are just a quick answer to them. So, what was the first animal that you ever harvested?
Mule deer fawn.
Your first animal was, oh man, mine was a
Well,
grouse.
sorry, no, that's sorry. I always think big game. Yes, it would have been a grouse, and then ducks, and then geese. Yeah, so first big game animal would have been a mule deer, but I actually don't remember specifically the first bird, but I think I shot grouse when I was younger.
Yeah, fair. Classic one. What's your favorite hunting resource outside of iHunter? Like a podcast, forum, book, something like that?
In the past, it would have been Meat Eater, I suppose. Like I definitely jumped on that as well, and I still think it's a great resource. It's so much more palatable for people than a lot of other hunting resources. Dylan's Eat Wild podcast is awesome for new people.
Yes.
And in the past, Highlander Hunting was a really good podcast out of Calgary that I liked.
Oh, okay. What is your favorite hunting snack?
Oh, traditionally eat more chocolate bars, but I haven't had one in a while. But those used to just fill the fanny pack.
Nice. That's awesome. Are you a double socks or one layer of socks kind of guy?
One layer of socks and good boots.
Good boots. Yeah. Yeah. What's your go-to drink in the woods?
Coffee.
Black, or you bring little packets of creamer with you?
Black all the time.
Ooh, all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the one absolute essential that you have to have on every hunt?
Knife, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Critical multi-tool right there. And any last comments or things that we didn't touch on that you'd want people to know about?
Oh yeah, I guess I haven't mentioned the iHunter store. So we created a separate way to like purchase your stuff through iHunter that you can just go to ihunterapp.com, and then there's a link to the store there, or store.ihunterapp.com. So you can buy your land ownership maps online for a little bit cheaper than what you can buy in app. And same thing
Okay.
for your subscriptions. We make a little bit more money off of that, so it's really helpful. And I think we got lots of discounts available. So if you follow us on Instagram or anything like that, we'll often release some promos or sales, and those are all for the store. So you make your purchase there, you get your features on your phone or on the web app. So we've also got web.ihunterapp.com, which is another version of iHunter that you can use on your laptop or
Okay.
desktop or whatnot.
Yeah, awesome. I'll make sure that there are links in the show notes down below to all the places that people can find you guys as far as Instagram and emails. And I'll put a link to the iHunter store as well. Mark, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really enjoyed learning about the background of iHunter, your background, and I'm excited to see what you guys continue to do as it evolves over the many years of life that it has yet to come.
Yeah, I really hope that we're around for a while and keep having the opportunity to help people hunt safer and better and more legally, I suppose.
Yeah, you guys have a
Yeah.
dedicated following, so I'm confident you'll be around for a very long time to come.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me today.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in today to watch or listen, and make sure to hit that like or subscribe button to follow along wherever you get your podcasts. If you have any questions, comments, or reviews, please drop them down below. I will read them and I will get back to you. Or you can reach me at questions@entrypointhunting.com. If you know an expert or someone who offers great advice or is just growing rapidly in the field of hunting, angling, or conservation, please send them my way. I would love to reach out and connect with them. And until next time, friends, stay hungry.